Code can be challenging to read no matter how it's written. So we're going to use comments to remind us of what's going on in our code. It was a smart man that put this down on paper. I'm not writing it down to remember it later. I'm writing it down to remember it now. So let's talk a little bit about readability of code. As our code gets larger, and we're talking multiple files, multiple libraries, more and more people begin to work on the code with us, we need to keep our code readable, not just in variable names. Like we have here, we've used name for Mike's name, location for where he lives, the full name, Mike the Frog, and this is very readable. But to make it even more readable, we want to use comments. Now, comments in PHP can be used to make code readable. It can be used to temporarily comment out code. It can be put on a single line. It can be put at the end of a line. It can also be done over multiple lines for documentation strings and etc. So let's do that now, a few of these examples of comments to get you comfortable with comments in PHP. Let's first go off and say 2 forward slashes in front of a line is going to make the entire line commented out. So the PHP processor will not see these lines. So this is just for you. The interpreter will ignore anything behind 2 slashes. So let's say, what is this? We'll say, this is my first name. And Mike's not my first name, so I'm going to change it to Hampton. Okay, so now we have a comment. 2 forward slashes, this is my first name. The interpreter will completely ignore that. So if we save it and we do our preview, you'll see that this is not shown. There's nothing here that shows you any of that PHP code. It doesn't print anywhere. So it's commented out. Let's switch back over and give a few more examples. So let's say we don't want location. So we're going to put 2 forward slashes in front of location, which in essence comments out all of that code. So now when we save and we switch back over to our preview, you'll see that the location, which was here before, is now gone. Switch back over, uncomment it out by deleting the 2 forward slashes, save, switch back over and refresh, and now you'll see location is back. So we can use comments to temporarily comment out lines of code if we're testing or debugging. Also, we can use it to make it a readable line, such as this is my first name. Now, let's do a few more examples. Let's say, for instance, my full name. Well, we'll just go ahead and go over here. We're going to change this to mine. So it is Hampton Polk. Now, to do a multi-line comment, so we could either do 2 forward slashes and do another 2 forward slashes, but that's not standard practice. In order to do multi-lines, we'll do a forward slash, then an asterisk, then we'll come underneath it, and to finish the multi-line, we'll do another asterisk and then a forward slash. So anything inside between these 2 lines, or any lines so far, so these will be comments. So I'll just go down and add a few lines. So any of this will be comments. Now, this is not very a useful comment, so we're going to actually make this something worthwhile. So I'll say, this is my full name of Welsh origin. Okay, so now we have a full name with a bit of a comment. So that's nice. And then we're assigning name to full name. So how would we explain this? We'll just do 2 forward slashes and say, use full name as our name. That way, we know that we're using full name as our name. If we comment this out, hit save and switch back over, this Mike the Frog should switch over to just Hampton. Now, if I say we want to use our full name, remove that comment, switch back over, and refresh. Now it's using my full name. So this gives you an idea of comments for making notations, for readability, as well as doing removal of code, getting rid of things that you don't need just for a temporary basis. I'm actually going to go ahead and uncomment this line for location because we actually do want location. Let's refresh that. Okay, everything's back to normal. Another thing that I want to talk about is statements. You're going to hear me refer to close your statement or finish this statement in PHP. A statement in PHP is anything that is an executable line. When PHP runs its code, it actually runs from top to bottom. So it's going to move
from the very first line, line 1, and work its way down to line 18, which is the close of the PHP tag. Inside of there, we have multiple what are called statements. Line 4 is a statement, line 7 is a statement, 13 and 16 are all statements. The way that we determine what is a statement is it ends in a semicolon. So on line 4, we're assigning the name variable a string equal to my name, which is Hampton. We close that statement by using a semicolon. Line 7, we assign a variable location to Orlando, Florida as a string, and we close that statement with a semicolon. Now, if we scroll down in our code and we go down to here, where there's not a semicolon, it's still considered a statement in PHP because it's all on one line. I can still add a semicolon here, which I will, and then hit save, and it's still considered a statement. I'm going to go back over, refresh, and you're going to see it's still the same. Great. I'm going to go down here, remove a little bit of this. We don't really need that right now. Go back over, refresh. Okay, so that should give you a very basic understanding of how comments work, as well as what a statement is inside of PHP.